Good evening. Come, gather round. Are you comfortable? Moving can lead us to interesting experiences. Oh, and don't forget to grab your popcorn.
This incident takes place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, around 2009, 2010. I found a place. It was a part of a hacienda. Like they turned, the realtors or whoever owned it, they turned a nice little like adobe hacienda into three separate apartments, condominiums, whatever you want to call it. And it was just me and my two small children at the time. We moved not knowing anybody over there, but I was always pulled over there for some reason that I didn't understand, which later on I'll explain more on that in another story. The whole experience in Albuquerque, New Mexico was very like the entrance to the city. It says Land of Enchantment. It was very odd, very like things that happened there. The people there were really odd, interesting. I had my two neighbors. Oh, I'm sorry, no. It was not in just three. The hacienda was not just made in three separate apartment sections. It was four. So, two of my neighbors, one was right next to me, and he was a mechanic, older man, like maybe in his 50s. Quiet to himself, lived by himself. The other one was an older woman, I want to say in her early 60s, lives alone herself as well. Very sweet lady, very nosy. And me and my kids in the very end. Now, in between her and the mechanic, there was an empty one-bedroom apartment. So I was there for 2 weeks. I got to know my other neighbors, my two neighbors. And then a new tenant moved in. It was a young couple. I want to say he was maybe like 24, 25 tall. I'd say like 6'2", 6'3", built, and Caucasian. I have to explain the ethnicity for a reason. Okay. His girl that moved in with him, she was this gorgeous, stunning, tiny little thing. She was like maybe, I want to say 5'2", 5'3". She was Native American. And long hair. And green eyes. I mean, gorgeous. And let me just say that there is a tribe over there that I have ran into. I accidentally, because again, I was new to New Mexico. So the first week I was driving around all of New Mexico, not just Albuquerque, and getting to know New Mexico. I accidentally almost stumbled upon into a a res, and they were gonna let me in because they saw the tattoo on my arm and they assumed that I was, part of, the res. But when I told them I wasn't, they're like, yeah, you gotta turn around. So, but anyways, there's a tribe that, these people were gorgeous. They had long hair. They kept their hair long and green eyes. It was very peculiar to see that trait, and then in more than one people. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, now, she was very quiet. She rarely looked up. He was the friendliest, sweetest guy. He would pull everybody's trash out to the front. He was very polite and nice to my children whenever he'd see us outside. And she was very quiet, very timid like. And she always wore, it was summer. She wore really short shorts and like a spaghetti strap, top. Well, I think they were there for, I want to say, a week. And my nosy neighbor, she came and she told me, hey, we should invite her to have coffee with us and get to know her. They look like a young couple. Oh, by the way, she looked like she was like maybe 18, 19. And my nosy neighbor wanted to get to know her and stuff, and I was like, well, I guess I don't want to intrude because I don't know the situation. So, but the neighbor's like, well, I'm gonna ask them, they seem really, so I'm like, okay. And it just so happened that night is when this incident occurred. So after dinner, me and my kids used to listen to radio theater, and then after that we would listen to Coast to Coast AM with, forgot his name, he passed away, R.I.P. He was a good DJ. We used to listen to that, and we used to get chocolate milk, and we used to sit on the floor, and the floors were wooden, okay? And remember, it's all connected, like the entire place. It's just like one big single-story hacienda like place that had been divided. So okay, so we're there. My kids are falling asleep. They never stay up long enough to hear the ending of all of Coast to Coast. And I guess I was really tired that day that I fell asleep early too, which was weird because I usually don't. And it was a full moon that night. So I remember it was a full moon because I was teasing my kids, it's going to be even spookier, with the, the moon shining in, whatever. And we had fallen asleep. I had fallen asleep laying down, in the blankets there on the floor. And all I heard, felt more than heard, was a huge bang on the floor. Not coming from my place, coming from one of the neighbors' place. It was so loud, so intense that it I literally bounced, like my body bounced off the floor. It was weird, like not cartoon like, but I moved, and I sat up, and it happened again, and then I thought, oh well, maybe it's my neighbor, the mechanic, and he got some friends to help him, I don't know, bring in a transmission into his house, and I don't know, I just assumed all that stuff. So I didn't think much of it. I was just like, man, they could warn us. And again, this happened around 1:30 in the morning, and I mentioned the time because in my other stories, things just seem to happen around that time, 1:30 a.m. Weird. So I checked the time, and I thought to myself, man, 1:30, geez, go to sleep. And then I ended up falling asleep. And the next morning, it was like, it had to been like literally daybreak. Literally, maybe like it was still 5 in the morning, or like, I don't know. It was like daybreak, because I know that because my nosy neighbor, she would always go and bang on my door at like 6:30 in the morning, telling me to get up, stop being lazy, as she used my water hose to water all the honeysuckle wall that grew there. And well, she came knocking, and it seemed earlier than normal, so yeah, I want to say maybe it was like 5 in the morning. She's knocking and banging. And I answer the door. My kids are startled. They're standing with me. She tells me send the kids to their rooms, or keep them in here and come step outside with me. And so I tell the kids, wait in here, and I stepped outside, and I was like, oh, what's wrong? And she starts telling me that she had called the police last night, that there was all this commotion. She wanted to come and tell me, but she didn't want to. She was scared to leave her place, and that the police was going to send some police from the res that girl belonged to, which I didn't even know they did that. Almost like in the military, they send MPs instead of the regular police. MPs is military police for soldiers or whatever that live off base. So she was telling me that she was hearing so much banging. She said that she was just waiting for like a chair or a table to go through the wall that she was, that connected hers to theirs, and she was terrified. And it was like if they were, she said it sounded like someone was picking up furniture and slamming it against the walls, and all she can hear was the guy, and he was the one that was screaming. And she was trying to listen in to hear if she heard the girl, but the girl never made a sound, and which I thought was really odd. And so while she's telling me this, we're slowly making our way to knock on the mechanic's door to wake him up and have him, like, I don't know, escort us to their place and knock to do our own personal welfare check until the cops came, the other police came. So while we were gonna walk, we turned to walk. Two big cars showed up. One was, a regular vehicle. It was all tan. There was he looked like a deputy or a sheriff, with long hair. He was Native American too. He was from the res with another, I guess, his deputy or whatever, or any other policeman. And so they go and they knock gently. They walk in. They're in there for a while. While they're in there, this is gonna sound so bizarre, but okay. While they're in there, this suburban-like vehicle comes, with them, and it was people, just regular. It wasn't police or anything. It was just people. I just thought it was her family, but they were all boys and men. It was like maybe five or six of them, with their long hairs, not really long, but like to their shoulders, or to the middle of their back. Each one was holding a stemmed rose, which was so weird. And they all lined up when the guy, and they were, the older, they were different ages, right? Meanwhile, the guy inside is getting handcuffed and taken, and that's what I thought. He was not handcuffed. He was getting taken. They're holding him in each arm. He's completely wounded. Like, there's blood on his face, dried blood on his shirt's torn. I mean, he looks like a tractor ran over him. And he just kept crying and saying, I tried, I did my best, and that's it. That's all he kept on saying. I tried, I did my best, I love her. And he was telling that to the men that were standing like that. There was maybe one 15-year-old amongst the group, and more elder than there was, any other kind of age. And he was telling them that. The other ones didn't pay no mind to him. And they didn't, the officers or deputy, whatever, sheriff, they weren't telling him, okay, calm down or stop talking, or they were just guiding this guy into the car. It was just so strange. He goes into the car. As soon as he gets into the car, this row of men holding these roses goes in to the apartment. And I want to say maybe 15-20 minutes later, 3 come out first, still holding the roses. She's in the middle behind them, and then the other ones are right behind them as well, holding the roses. She's dressed in her short shorts and her spaghetti strap. Her hair is not messed up. There are no cuts or bruises on her whatsoever. She's keeping her head down, and they just walk off, get in the Suburban, and then both vehicles drive off. And that was it. Let me just say that in werewolf lore that I have, looked up or read about, or seen in movies, a way to ward off or to like keep them tamed is roses. They don't like roses. It's like garlic to them. I'm not saying she was a shapeshifter or skinwalker like they say. I'm just saying everything that took place that day literally adds up to her being a werewolf.
A rose, a symbol of beauty and helpful when things get hairy. Until next time.